Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the E53 ANZCAR Cup here on Performance Streaming, and I hope you are all well. And apologies for a couple of little bits of issue just as we were loading up there. We just had a couple of minor issues. And I think everything is working now, so we should be ready to go and back to racing. Okay, it sounds like we are back to racing. So we are just finishing up qualifying here. Sorry, we're just running straight into it now. So with me tonight is Jono. How you going, John?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Carl?
Not bad at all. And thanks to Matt Hunt today, just getting everything sorted out. A bit of a problem, but he's got everything sorted, so good job. We're just running straight into qualifying right now, and Jason Martin's managed to get on pole at the moment with a 29.145. Fantastic lap by him. Tonight for the race, what do you expect, Jono, for track conditions can be a bit tricky here?
Yeah, so tyres probably won't be in their, we'll call it, nice green window for very long here. As we spoke to earlier, not sure if it got picked up, but the front right's getting eaten a lot on this track because the banking and just the cars are very loose too, so the rear tyres are going and a lot of drivers are getting caught out by the white line in 3 and 4. So watch for some spills maybe coming through 3 and 4 and coming down in the pit lane.
Yes, and it's going to be a bit tricky out there. Like, this track can really throw people off, and well, it is a very fast track as well, and that's always a big thing. So we've just wrapped up the qualifying session there, and taking pole is Jason Martin, Michael Scurlock third, and Matt Danson in third place, with Joshua Carroll-Walden in fourth. So we're going to be jumping to our race client, so jumping to the race very shortly. While we go to that, though, we're just going to jump into our little highlights package of the last race, so we will see you all shortly. Okay. Okay, and welcome back, everybody. We should hopefully be back live in your homes and ready to go. Sorry, we're having a couple of technical issues tonight. One of those joys of streaming sometimes. So hopefully everything will be lovely and hassle-free for the rest of the evening. So the driver's complaining a bit about the weather out there.
Yeah, there's a few complaining, like Matt Danson and Jason Martin, because it's a more overcast and cold track, which means more movement in the cars, more sliding around, bigger wrecks for us at home, right?
Yes, well, it's going to throw a lot of people off because we've just come from a very sunny, warm qualifying session to an extremely cloudy, overcast, dire race session.
Yeah, so some of the guys that we didn't see up the top end in qualifying are now up the top because of different weather circumstances.
Yeah, it's going to throw a lot of people out, I think. And, well, hopefully we're not going to see too many problems out there. That's the main thing, I think, for us all. We're going to be hoping that everything does indeed work out for the drivers tonight, because there are a few people putting their stakes in it. And just in the intro video, sorry, we did have forget to put in Josh Michelmore for the chase, just in the intro package, not the highlight package. Sorry about that, Josh, completely forgot about you there. But there are those drivers getting into the chase tonight, and of course Matt Danson is secure. He's in no matter what, but everybody else has got to chase their way in there.
Yeah, so we have drivers like Edward Foster and that are fighting, and underdogs, we'll say, to getting into the playoffs. The chase. The last race, the chase.
Yes, not quite the playoffs just yet. We haven't got them yet in iRacing, but one day we might.
Yeah, been too busy watching the real life NASCAR. Sorry, brain fart.
It's an easy thing to do. It's one of those things that can really throw you out. So the driver's going to be lining up in the grid, so we should be getting ready to go. So let's run through the starting order for everybody. So starting in P1 is Mr. Jason Martin. He's going to be pretty happy with that, I imagine. P2 is Michael Scurlock. On the second row of the grid is Matt Danson with Joshua Carroll Walden next to him. Third row, Ryan Shelton with Mirko Dautanac. Fourth row, Dave Douglas with Josh Michelmore. Fifth row, Danny G and Edward Foster. Sixth row is Matthew Kloet with Chris Purnell. Seventh row, Stephen Williams and Norman Clark. Eighth row is Roger Clark and Hamish Gallagher. Ninth row is Phil Otto, Tristan Koch. 10th row is Michael Latterer and Ryan McCarthy. And then finally we have Ryan Curtis and Paul Jackson. So new name up in the field there with MacArthur, a new driver. He's part of the DeCarthy and McCarthy, sorry. My brain was completely fading there trying to say that name. Too long, too many surnames. He is part of the Riley Curtis design team. And we also have Paul Jackson, who I think is another driver that's new to the ANZCAR Cup series. Well, I do kind of remember the name, so I might have seen him once before. But a couple of drivers in there, but we're getting ready to go. So who is your pick tonight, Jono?
So I'm going to pick three in no particular order, and that's Josh Lee, Ryan, and Edward Foster. What about you?
Okay, well, I'm going to be picking. I'm just going to be picking basically Jason Martin. I'm not going to go top three. That's too complicated for me. But I'm going to go for Jason Martin tonight for the win. Of course, I want to see. It's hard to say because there are so many guys pitting it for the chase, and unfortunately, we can only take 3 drivers through. So the pace car goes in. The drivers are going to get ready. Jason Martin's going to be heading up the field. Away he goes. And green, green, green. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing here in Texas. Yeehaw.
Big gaps between some of the cars already.
Yes, Martin's pulled out a decent lead at the start. He had a pretty good start there. Scurlock's managed to slot himself in nicely in second place. Everybody seems to have gotten away cleanly. So hopefully everybody will be okay down the field. A lot of drivers were complaining today about the apron as well, and that's a bit of a danger zone for a lot of these cars.
Yeah, so especially in 3 and 4, or when you're coming into pits, that white painted line is definitely a bit of a danger zone. So we might see some drivers hit that and accidentally lose the car, the rear end. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's an easy thing to do, and in these weather conditions, with this change of weather, of course the track temperatures have gone down, there is a lot more shade over the track, you've no longer got that sunny condition, so that's going to throw out a lot of people's practice as well, because it's going to change the way the tyres are going to degrade, as Matt Danson is pushing his way up to try and get into the lead, and Josh Michelmore is just sitting up there. He's just slid in behind his teammate Jason Martin there. Those two are probably going to want to work together. Just dropping out the line a little bit is Scurlock. He's just dropping back a bit. He's actually dropped back all the way to about 10th place. So he's dropping down 7th place. He's dropping down a little bit in the order, but I wonder if he's trying to get into line with a couple of his teammates there. The Illusion cars are looking to work together.
Yeah, that's always possible as a driver in a big team myself. You know, you always want to work with your teammates as soon as possible. They can always help and you can always help them, so better than being around a bunch of strangers and getting wrecked at the end of the night.
Yes, well that's it, is you practice with your teammates, you know what they're going to do, they're a bit more consistent, they're a bit easier to read sometimes, so it does make it a little bit easier, and especially up the front, a lot of these guys know each other quite well, have raced each other quite a lot. But when you've got the teammates there, they're going to try and help you push forwards. And people like Scurlock, who is the last Illusion car in, with Scurlock and Williams, because they're both in the chaser course. With the Illusion cars, they're going to want to try and work together and get their cars through. Whereas teams where you've only got the one driver sort of looking for the chase now, like Riley Curtis Design, I imagine they're going to work to try and get their driver through to the chase. We also, of course, have the Mixed Motorsport boys up the front at the moment with Jason Martin and Josh Michelmore, and I imagine Danny G is going to want to try and get up there with his teammates.
Yeah, and for people at home that don't know, a lot of these guys that are in teams have inter-team chat during the race, so they can talk to each other on where they want to be, you know, in front or behind their teammate pushing or getting pushed type of thing.
Yes, and it's a constant thing of working together, much like real motorsport with radios. It's crucial to have it when you're racing it in the iRacing series, because it's so easy to sort of make a bit of a mistake, or when you're running that close, if you don't know a driver's going to pull left or right, it's so easy to have that incident. When you're working over a team radio, you sort of have that little bit of advanced knowledge of what they're going to do. As we start to get sort of two and a half lines sort of working here, with the mid to low line being favoured at the moment, but Scurlock is sort of hunting out there on the outside line at the moment. He seems to be pretty happy running right there on the top line at the moment.
Yeah, he's pretty far up there. I have seen a few drivers go a bit more further up the track to preserve their tyres, but they seem to be running very quick under this colder condition, obviously, so being up high to also, you know, under these colder conditions risks you getting into the wall with the track and the car being a bit looser.
Yes, well, to give you an idea of the difference this cold weather has made, well, they're full of fuel still. These guys are doing 28.7s, whereas in qualifying we were looking at the sort of the 29, low 29s, 29.1 for the qualifying time of Jason Martin. So they've gained almost half a second from this colder climate coming in, and this is also going to change the tyre wear. So pretty much all of these guys' practice is going to be sort of thrown out the window. They're not going to know quite what's going to happen. That right front tyre has been a bit of a problem for a lot of people, but with this colder condition tonight, it might change it for these guys.
Yeah, and as a driver, they probably all practiced during the last week or 2 weeks, depending on if they run the Xfinity series that ANZCAR Cup also runs or not, but they hopefully will run under all different types of weather conditions if practicing with them teammates or by themselves, depending on their situation.
Yes, and well, it's the story of practice makes perfect is often the case, but I think a lot of drivers were pretty set in tonight for the slightly hotter, slightly sunnier conditions, and it's a real sort of curveball when you start getting these different conditions and different track climates. As Danson runs a bit wide there, has just lost position to Michelmore, as we see Ryan Shelton coming up behind him, running really well tonight, up there in the top 4 at the moment. Another guy to keep an eye on as well is actually Joshua Carroll-Walden, who's having a pretty decent end to his season. He's been having a good run all year, but he's sitting up there. He's looked fast all evening. He's currently sitting up there in 5th place, fighting with Scurlock for that 5th and 6th position, and he's been having a good run, as we saw last time out when he got in the top 3. Oh, and big crash at the back as Dautanac, Mirko Dautanac has just gone into the wall. A huge moment for him, just coming into the final corner. We've managed to keep green, but he's just gone into the wall there. A huge moment for Dautanac.
Yeah, that's not what you want as a driver, ending up in the wall, but it's easy under these cold conditions.
It is easy enough to do, and it's, well, as we said, this slight change in weather condition is going to really change it up for these drivers and can really throw some of them out. It looks like maybe Dautanac just made contact with Foster, very, very close to taking out Danny G. I think he maybe even made contact with the front of that car. If not, then it would have been a cigarette paper between those two. It was just millimeters between them. But looks like Foster just tapped Dautanac just very slightly and sent him off track, and he'd gone into the wall. Big moment there, and that could have been a big one. Everybody very lucky to have avoided more damage than they actually received there, because that could have been a huge crash mid-pack.
Yeah, definitely how he violently come back across the track in front of cars like that. That's always disaster. Yes,
and you know, there's not much you can do as a driver in that situation when you bounce off the wall that hard. If you sort of try and crank the wheel too hard in the opposite direction, you're going to end up spinning around more. So a brilliant sort of, it wasn't a save, but brilliant sort of driving, brilliant driving there, just to manage to get the car sort of down and also get into the pit lane as well. But he managed to sort of make it from being a much bigger incident there. So a real shame for Dautanac. He's going to be a bit upset about that one. But the racing is close here at Texas, and it is fast. That's one of the big things about this track.
Yeah, it's very fast racing here, and when you do crash as a driver, you have to make that choice. Do you let the car roll back down the track, or do you stand on the brakes and lock it down?
Yes, and it's a big thing. It's, you know, having that sort of awareness, or for track awareness, and knowing to sort of let the car roll or sort of keep going in the direction is a big thing, because it's easy enough to just make the wrong choice, and we've seen it in the past, drivers making that wrong choice and go, oh, what a stupid decision, but you've got split seconds to make that decision. It's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's like real racing. When you see real race car drivers, like any sport, you know, they make a bad choice or a bad call in the football, and you go, why'd they call that wrong? Why'd the ref call it wrong? You know, it's split-second decisions happening. All human at the end of the day too.
Yes, well, there's always the old ref is blind thing, you know. Oh, and Dave Douglas has gone around. Dave Douglas has just gone around. Just going to try and have a see what actually happened there. But Dave Douglas has just gone round. Let's just try and work out what's actually just happened there for Douglas. He's gone around on the front straight. It just looks like he's just lost the rear end coming onto that front straight through turn 4. just gone up into the wall, managed to keep the car relatively straight for a few moments, and then locked it up across the line and skidded across the grass. Good save for Douglas to not get in more trouble there, but he's going to be slightly annoyed about that. Douglas is not feeling too well tonight as well, so it's always a hard thing when you're driving, when you're racing, when you're not feeling well, and when you make a mistake like that, it makes you feel even worse.
Yeah, I think he might have just been peering out to try have a run on the car in front, and unfortunately he just grabbed the wall there.
Yeah, it's easy to do here though. It's Texas is one of those tracks that is very hard to drive. It doesn't look it, and it doesn't feel it. Oh, and we've got another couple of cars going round. Just at the back, I just saw a car in the grass. Sorry, just trying to actually get everything in a row here, trying to work out just what happened there.
Yeah, that was Mitchell.
Yeah, so we had also Ryan McCarthy and Scurlock as well have been in the wars. Ryan McCarthy, just trying to see exactly what happened with him as well. It looks like he's had a trip across the grass. And Scurlock as well. Scurlock's into the wall. A big moment for Scurlock. He's just lost it going through turn 4. The back end's just stepped out slightly on him, and just drifted him up in the track. And he just clipped. It looked like he just clipped Foster as well. Foster very lucky to get away with that one, not getting more damage. But at the back of the pack, McCarthy and Roger Clark also getting involved in a little bit of an accident there as well. So just having a little look back at that one as well, trying to figure out exactly what happened there. It just seems everyone's just got loose off turn 4. Both drivers, no one making contact with each other. It's everybody struggling through that turn 4.
Yeah, when I was doing the laps for the intro video there, I found 3 and 4 to be the hardest two corners out of the track. 1 and 2 aren't too bad, but 3 and 4 are very unsettling for the car.
Yes, and you're going so fast on this track. That's one of the big things. You're going so fast here. It's just a millimetre off target, and you're going to go into that wall. It's a very narrow racetrack here as well. Something you don't really pick up on until you drive it.
Yeah, it looks a lot bigger on camera than it is in a car, so that's something to keep in mind.
As they say, everything looks bigger in Texas. And this track is one of them, and it's such a fast track as well. As these tyres go off, I think we're going to see more and more people just taking little bits and nibbling out that wall, and this could be a big one. Luckily, most people are doing okay out there that are in the chase. Scurlock had that moment, but he's managed to climb his way back up to 11th, so good on him there. Foster as well, just getting that little bit of a love tap possibly by Scurlock as well, just going across the line. It looks like he's remained relatively good as well. But the chase drivers are all up there, so it's still to play for. And now it's just a question of who can look after their tyres and who can work out these weather conditions.
Yeah, and the weather conditions could change with the iRacing dynamic weather system. It could heat up yet. We don't know.
Yes, but that's the thing here. Is if that cloud cover gets burnt away, and you can see there's a couple of spots where the sun is starting to shine through, a little bit lighter silver clouds above the track. If that cloud cover gets burnt away, we're going to see a very different evolution of this track. And again, that's something that can catch drivers out. If that sun appears on one of these corners, it's going to change the feel of this racetrack, change everything on it. And it could throw a few people out.
Yeah, it'll definitely be quite interesting if we see a weather change throughout the course of this race to see how drivers react.
Yes, it's one of those things. You've got to react with the conditions. and it's a hard thing to do sometimes as a driver, as Joshua Carroll-Walden makes it past Ryan Shelton. Looks like Shelton may have just had a bit of a nibble into the wall as well on his right front, possibly, at some stage. He's just dropping back towards Foster now. Scurlock as well, a little bit in the wall still. His right front is looking a little bit worse for wear, but he's still sort of keeping up there. Paul Jackson up in 14th place at the moment, doing really well on his possibly his first race here in the Cup Series. So doing a good job. Jackson's sort of just leading the pack at the moment. He's sort of out on his own from a few of the other guys. Yeah, we've got some really tricky conditions out there. It's looking troublesome.
Yeah, as it looks like Ryan's losing some pace as Edward has made it around him now too, so some of the drivers might be feeling the bite on the tyres now.
Yeah, it seems a few people are getting a little bit caught out there. Jason Martin just storms away in the lead, and I imagine he's going to be pretty happy with how it's sitting at the moment, because we know that Martin can look after his tyres well. We've got a good battle down in 8th place at the moment with Danny G, with the 2 Riley Curtis design cars behind him. One of them, of course, on this lap, the other not, of Riley Curtis behind him, and then Dave Douglas as well, just keeping up there with his teammate and team leader. And then just behind him is Stephen Williams. So some good battling going on in that sort of mid-pack at the moment. But Shelton looks to have lost quite a bit of pace from that little tuck into the wall here. But at the moment, it looks like Jason Martin is pretty much enjoying this weather condition. He seems to be doing well out there, and it doesn't seem to be pushing the car too hard, but he's able to keep pace and keep out in front, most importantly.
Yeah, and being being able to look after your tyres can sometimes pay off more than being the fastest guy out there. But Martin is doing both of those, so he's doing real well.
Well, you don't have to be the fastest guy to win a race. It's one of the stranger things in motorsport, is sometimes you don't have to be the fastest to win. It does help, of course, but sometimes just looking after those tyres a little bit, just having a little bit of a better drive out of a corner sometimes can make a difference. Some people just have that sort of a little ability to keep things on, as Matt Danson just pushes his way past Michelmore now, and I wonder if Danson's just been holding back a little bit, just keeping in the slipstream of Michelmore, just keeping himself there, keeping a bit more fuel in the car, and is now pushing the go button to try and catch Tim Martin, because he looks like he's just picked up pace a little bit. But yeah, you don't have to always be the fastest to win a race. Sometimes strategy is important, luck, of course. But if you can keep your tyres well, you can usually do well. As Phil Otto's just had a moment as well, again off that turn 4. Just having a little bit of a look to see what happened to Phil here. He's just coming through turn 4, and the back end has just stepped out a tiny little bit, has it? He's just going around the number 18 of Latera, and coming into that final corner, just no front grip whatsoever, it looks like, and he's just gone up into the wall. Yep, up into the wall and straight across the grass. So a big moment for Phil there, and he's dropping back a bit now as well. So yeah, these conditions have really caught these drivers out, and that final turn is tricky enough on, when you've had lots of practice and in perfect conditions, but in this situation where it's just changed so much before this race, it's really catching people out, I think, along with this bit of a setup as well.
So some of them can be a bit touch and go some weeks.
Yes, and it's one of the things, having fixed setup, it does make it a little bit fairer across the grid, of course, because everybody's on the same, got the same car underneath of them. But some drivers prefer a car loose, some prefer it tighter. I myself always prefer a car with a bit of a loose rear. I don't like anything too too grippy at the front. Too grippy at the rear. And that can really put you in good stead in some tracks, and others it can throw you out. And of course, when it's a fixed setup, you don't have that choice to make it a little bit lighter at the rear, as we've got Joshua Carroll-Walden first to blink, first to come into the pits. So Joshua Carroll-Walden coming in from 4th place, the first of those top drivers to come into the pits. So we'll see if this brings in a spat of pit stops, as one of the Illusion cars, I think, has also come in. Just trying to see who that was.
They're definitely pushing those tyres now, being 42 laps into the race.
Yes, well, in those hot weather conditions, it was expected that people were going to probably get around about 40 to 50 laps out of those tyres. Now it's cooler though. It might provide people with a little bit better tyre life out there. So we might be looking at the mid-50s possibly for people really coming in. Fuel is definitely one of those things on those about 50-55 lap limit though. So we might be getting a fuel limited race rather than a tyre limited race now.
Yeah, it's one of those things, myself as a driver, I find tyres harder to keep on in the cold compared to in the warm. So, and like you said, you like a loose car. I like to feel my car underneath me, so I like a well-grounded car. And I prefer these fixed setups because it does make it more fair and even across the field.
It does. It's a great levelling technique, and I mean, you can have the same car. A lot of series do nowadays. You know, like they're of course, you know, with supercars and NASCAR and things like that, the chassis are pretty much similar across the board. There's a few slight tweaks here and there. Generally, it's the engine that's the big difference maker in these things. But even so, you know, stock series, you know, like if you look at Formula 2, for instance, and stuff like that, it's a stock series, so everything's the same, but you don't have the same setups. And having the same setup across the field really can make a difference, because getting to set up your car, you can make a very different race vehicle, and you can make something that's much easier to drive for yourself. Whereas if you can't change that setup, you're kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, that is something to think about when you race and fix setup. Is if you get a loose setup and you driver that likes to feel the car under you, or if you're the opposite and you get the other way around, you know, it's can be difficult to deal with if that's not your style. But that's also part of being a dynamic driver too.
And that's what we see generally in these sort of in ANZCAR, is these drivers who have that ability to really drive anything. You know, they're able to drive around these setups and drive lots of different setups, and it's a real big thing to talk about the skill of these drivers, because to be able to adapt to a different to the same setup as everybody else, but not being able to adjust it to your own quirks. Obviously, you can change a little bit of tyre pressure here and there, but not much being able to change to suit yourself. Winning week in and week out, it's a pretty impressive thing. And you've got people like Martin and Danson, Michelmore, Foster, you know, those guys are always up in that sort of top area. Douglas as well tends to be in the top 10 a lot, and they're able to adapt to the sort of the different setups, the different changes of setup in these tracks and these cars quite well. And a couple of other people you do see sort of, sometimes they're really on it on one track and then another track they struggle with. And you know, that's not a disparaging thing about their skill. It's just a thing of, you know, it's a very hard thing to do, to constantly adapt to a different setup, as Jason Martin comes into the pits from the lead.
Yeah, like I was saying the other week, I know that I need more practice at any road course in a NASCAR compared to an oval track. I just don't have the skill and the, I guess, technique to drive the road courses like other drivers can, so I've got to put that extra time into practice to try get to the level that some of the drivers are at.
Well, the big thing is road courses are a very difficult thing to drive in these cars. I mean, the ovals may look like the easiest thing in the world to drive a NASCAR around, and I can assure you they are not, and I'm sure everybody else will tell you the same thing. But road courses in a NASCAR is it's a bit like pulling teeth sometimes. These cars are not designed for those lovely twisty road courses that we get. They're big lumps of pig iron, and they can be a bit tricky to get around as Foster comes in from third place. But it is a thing of practice and just getting used to the car as well. That's another big thing, is getting used to the car. That's another hard thing to do. So as Foster comes in, it's going to be interesting to see where he sits compared to a couple of other drivers. I'm just going to be looking at Josh Carroll-Walden, who is currently sitting ahead of Jason Martin. He's managed to get that undercut working for him very well. He's gained a good couple of seconds over Martin. So he's really jumped ahead of the field here as Danson and Michelmore come in as well, as Stephen Williams and everybody else. So everybody's coming in for those stops. So it seems like 53 is the maximum number of laps that people can run at the moment.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on Josh. He's been doing really well with this undercut strategy that he's pulled here. So undercut is strong here tonight.
It's one of those things that can work out really well for you, and tonight with this very cool track and possibly tyre difference not being a huge part of this, we'll have to see how this shakes out now. But this could have worked out really well for Carroll-Walden. He could have pulled a really good stroke on this strategy. Pitting that a little bit earlier has really helped him out. Another driver that's helped out a fair bit as well is Matthew Kloet, who is currently up in 4th position. Really good job for Matthew Kloet there. He's worked his way right up the field with this strategy, and we'll have to see how well it goes for these guys, because of course now the thing is how much drop off do you get from your tyres. Pitting that little bit earlier, Josh Carroll-Walden's now done 13 laps on those tyres, whereas something like Matt Danson's on his 2nd lap. There's 11 laps of difference between his tyres. Is 11 laps of difference going to be a big drop off? If it is, then Carroll-Walden could start losing positions here quite quickly. But if the drop off isn't too bad with this weather, we could see him doing quite well from that early strategy, and I'm sure the other drivers will be looking at this as well.
Yeah, and talking about weather, we're seeing the track start to get a bit more light on it through places.
Yes, well, Texas is not known for its cooler climate. It's known to be quite hot, although it does snow sometimes. When that sun does break through, it's going to break through quite hard, and it's going to be quite bright as well. So just looking down the field a little bit as those pit stops have sort of shaken out, we've got Kloet and Foster now battling for fourth and fifth place. Josh Michelmore has dropped back all the way to 6th place. Big drop back for him. That's really cost him quite a few seconds there. As for times, I'm just looking at the actual lap times at the moment, and it's currently working out well for Carroll-Walden. He's doing quite well, but Jason Martin is much faster. The drop in tyre times is starting to appear now, and on that last lap, Martin was almost a second faster than Carroll-Walden, so he's going to start catching up very quickly here, and Carroll-Walden's going to start dropping down the order, and he's going to be hoping for a caution flag coming out really soon.
Yeah, that's always the thing as a driver. You go in the pit and then you hope for a caution, but it doesn't always happen. I was lucky enough in the Xfinity race last Thursday night to have to go in the pits and then a caution come out, so I just called it at the right time.
It's with cautions, it is pure luck. It's a roll of the dice with the caution. Getting it right for caution calls is purely a lucky thing, as Jason Martin just powers past JCW there, taking that high line, just able to just drive the car around the outside of him now, sitting really well for him. It is very much a tricky thing. You can't guarantee a caution's going to come out for you, so you have to really hope on it. Another guy that's starting to climb the field is Michelmore. He stopped a lap after Foster, and he seems to have a bit better pace in that car at the moment. He's just climbed his way back up the field a bit. He's gained a handful of sessions over Foster and is starting to climb those positions back. So obviously a fast car, and we've got a car on the back straight just going around, and it is Dave Douglas. Dave Douglas has got the caution out. Oh, a very near miss for a lot of drivers there. This is what Joshua Carroll-Walden will have wanted for sure. But this could be a bit of a pain for a few of those other drivers. Dave Douglas just going down and just catching the apron there, and very close to taking out a few of the top cars. He manages to keep the car slightly straight and then spins it at the end. Holds the car up there. Good job there. Yeah, he really just he made the right call going straight there, because everybody just drove around him. That was a really close call for a few of those drivers, especially for Matt Danson, and I think one of the MFR guys as well. They almost got a bit of a disaster there. But this is what Joshua Carroll-Walden would have wanted, I imagine. He's going to be on the same strategy as everybody else once they all come into the pit lane, but he's gained a handful of positions.
Yeah, so that was a lucky, I guess, call for Josh there. And also, like, people like Edward Foster, have won out of that, so doing quite well there.
Yes, well, Foster's gained a few positions, and it's going to help him a bit. We've got a very close fight for those last few places in the chase as well. At the moment, as we come into the pit lane, we've got Martin, we've got Foster, we've got Michelmore, we've got Kloet, and then Purnell, all in the top 8. Scurlock, in the top 10. All fighting out for that final place in the chase. It's going to be a rough one for these guys.
Yeah, it'll definitely be some hard racing all the way till the end, and we'll see what happens.
And a good stop there for a few of the drivers. Worked out really well for Joshua Carroll-Walden there. He just got out in front of Danson. Just having a little look back. It seems everybody sort of reasonably kept their places. And everybody's away. So we'll see how that shakes up once everybody gets back on the track. The only guy that I'm looking at is actually Scurlock. Just a bit of a look back, because it looks like he might have lost a few positions there. Possibly just getting some repairs done to his car, maybe. A bit of a long stop for him, so I think maybe he just got a few bits of duct tape slapped onto the front of his car, just to get a couple of extra seconds of aero advantage. And you might as well when you're under caution, because you're not going to lose too much time per se, but you can lose a few track positions.
Yeah, you can definitely, if you don't calculate your pit stop and you take, like extra repairs or anything, if you've had a brush with another car, you can easily go a lap down.
It's an easy thing to have happen to you, and it's one of those things that can happen quite quickly, as we see Matt Danson just coming down and just listening to his car at the moment.
I was going to say, did he go back through pits, or did he just go down there and come back up?
He just went down there, went back up. But he's saving fuel. He's switching the engine off. He is just trying. He's playing with the limits of the rules here, but he's switching the engine off, going down underneath the line there, and just trying to save a lap or two of fuel there. So I think that speaks to this being a fuel-sensitive race now, not a tyre-sensitive race. But Danson is really just saving as much fuel as possible, switching the engine off under caution here, just letting the car idle around, well, not even idle, just roll around the track, using the banking to his advantage a bit, just as he's going into the corner, and just letting the car roll down a little bit just to cut that corner a little bit as well, to make the track a little bit shorter as well. A bit cheeky there, but it's racing drivers are always going to play with the rules.
Yeah. You definitely see them switch off the motors in real life and roll around, so it's not out of the realm of realism switching your motor off.
No, it's one of those things, and well, with after this lap, we'll have 100 laps to go. He's going to try and make it on one more stop, I think. I think that's his plan. He wants to do one more stop on this race, while everybody else is going to be looking at 2 stops. I can't see anyone getting, other than Danson, possibly getting more than 2 stop. More than one, less than 1 stop. So the pace car comes back in, and we are going to be going back to green. Jason Martin's going to lead the cars off. He puts the foot down and gets it back under green flag racing. So away we go, and let's see how this rolls out. I think we're going to have to see what Danson does here, because he's not gonna, I don't think he's going to push too hard at the moment, but he's going to want to keep in contention. He's not going to want to drop back too far, but obviously he wants to save fuel. He's going to try and eke out as much fuel mileage as possible. If we continue green for the rest of this race, he's going to try and do one more stop possibly, which will be a bit of a feat if he manages to pull it off.
Yeah, as we see Joshua get eaten up on the outside line at the moment, so no one went up there to push with him, and it just didn't work out, so he's getting eaten by the pack at the moment.
Yeah, hung out to dry a little bit there, so unfortunate for JCW there. But again, you know, is he going to be trying to save it as well, just getting back in that pack a little bit to get a little bit more, a little bit less drag on his car, just get a few cars in front of him to help with the draft effect, and just help save some fuel mileage. We could be in for an interesting rest of the race here if people are going to try fuel saving, so we'll have to see about that one. One person that doesn't look like is fuel saving is Foster. He's really pushing the car quite hard on this opening lap, putting in some good time. He's really pushing his way up there. I think we're going to see a bit of a hare and rabbit situation. Sorry, a tortoise and hare moment here, where it could be possibly a slightly slower driver could have it if they manage one stop. But of course, you have to go with how much time they're going to lose in that strategy, because those fresher tyres may make you just much faster and keep that position. So we'll have to see what happens here.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's more done on the shorter runs, like say 60 laps or something, but it all depends on strategies and how the track is. So we'll see what happens to these drivers out here tonight.
Yes, another thing, of course, that it could well be from Danson is him playing some mind games, and just trying to make the other drivers feel like he's going to try and push for one more stop, so they fall into that trap as well. And he could be looking to try and take advantage of that, you know, making it look like he was saving more fuel than he actually was, and sort of making people feel like, oh, well, he's going to only do one more stop, so we have to push it. He could well be sort of trying to play some mind games with that sort of situation as well, and that's not out of the question here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes from now on, as we've got a very fast Kloet working his way up the field. He's right in front of Danson now. Kloet was setting some good times in practice earlier today. He actually set the fastest time in the practice session before qualifying. So he's definitely got some speed in that car.
Yeah, he's definitely got some good speed out there tonight, and hopefully he doesn't wear it all off in the first few laps here. Hopefully his speed hangs around.
Yes, and of course, again, that's one of those things you have to be careful of. You don't want to push it too hard, as Kloet just gets a little bit wide there possibly. He's just had to tweak it in a little bit more than he wanted to, it looks like, and just lost a little bit of time on Danson. But you don't want to push too hard, because you're going to start wearing those tyres out much quicker. And the quicker you wear those tyres out, the quicker you fall backwards.
Definitely. And we've got another caution.
We've got a caution, and trying to figure out what happened there. It looks like we've got a couple of cars around. It looks like Ducati and Ducati McCarthy and has gone round and collected somebody else by the looks of things. It looks like maybe Phil Otto, I think. So he got turned. So yes, on that straight, just got caught by Otto, and yeah, that's unfortunate for him there. But that's brought out another safety car, and I imagine we're going to see everybody coming into the pits now, and this will have made it to a we're still going to need. Where are we? We're still going to need a couple more stops after this. It's still going to be tricky. It's we'll have to see what people do now. It's going to be interesting. Let's see how this one plays out. As everybody comes into the pit lane, Danson trying his best to make it look like he wasn't. Trying to feign that he was going to stay out there, but no, it looks like all the leaders are definitely coming into the pit lane.
There's always those drivers that like to fake them out.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people like to do, and it's not really worth it though in this situation. There's no point. Kloet has made a huge mistake in the pit stop. He's really missed his stop and made a pig's ear of that one. He's going to be absolutely kicking himself for that. It looks like he completely missed his stall. He locked up his brakes, and it's just sort of he's had to really manoeuvre the car to get into the right spot. He's gone in there just too hard, had to reverse it in the pit lane and do a bit of a 3-point turn to get it into the actual position. So that's going to cost him an awful lot of places. It could have been worse, it could have been under green flag conditions, but that's going to cost him an awful lot of time.
Yeah, that's something that you never like as a driver, is missing your pit box, but on that concrete it's a lot slipperier, so it's easy enough to be done.
It is. It's one of those things that can be. It's an easy enough mistake to make. I'm just looking out here as well. Okay, he's back underway. So that's good news for him. It looks like maybe he got a penalty or a technical issue there as well. So that is really not helped him out at all. And also just looking back as well, just trying to figure out what's happened to Ryan Shelton, because he seemed to have had a barnstorming stop, but he's dropping back now as well. So not sure exactly what happened to Shelton there. He's had to drop right back to the back of the pack by the looks of things. Sorry, as I was just in the middle of questioning what was going on there. I was just trying to work out what was going on there. But yeah, it's like Shelton had a fairly decent stop, but he's had to drop right back. So Danson again dropping under the line and just trying to save fuel. It's going to be an interesting one. We'll have to see how this goes tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Maybe Ryan entered the pit as it got called clear, so he's got to drop to the end of the longest line, which is meaning the back of the pack. So that would be unfortunate for him.
Yes, it's it seems a bit of an unfortunate one for him. As just looking back, and Stephen Williams is coming in for another stop. He's gonna be rolling the dice a little bit here, coming in for a splash and dash just before we go back to green flag racing. Not a bad idea for Williams. Of course, he is in with a chance, getting in with the chase still. So having that counter strategy, put himself off kilter slightly, and being that you are slightly off routine, so to say, that could be a good call for him. We'll have to see how that shakes out as well, but he's somebody we're going to have to keep an eye on for the race later on, as he's just come in for that splash and dash, which has just given him a couple of laps extra fuel. Only really 2.5, 3 laps of fuel extra, but and of course under caution you don't use that much fuel anyway, but he'll be able to go a couple of laps longer than everybody else, so maybe he's trying to go for that one more stop.
Yeah, and we're seeing some flashing out of Edward Foster's car at the moment. His ping went right up there, but it seems to sort itself out at the moment.
And we can go back to green flag racing as Martin drops the hammer once more, and looks like Josh Michelmore has made a good start on that one as well. I will just also thank the South Australian NBN service there for Edward Foster. I'm sure he'll be happy with that as well, as he's just dropping back a little bit in the pack. Always a problem here in South Australia, though, and Australia-wide. NBN, not really worth much sometimes. As Jason Martin gets out in the front with Matt Danson behind him, Josh Michelmore's just dropped back a little bit, as it looks like, and Danson just cutting the grass there. He just really aggressively went across the grass there on that turn. I don't know if he actually was trying something there or just made a little bit of a mistake. He just really went down right onto the grass. And Martin has been turned. Big crash at the front. That's Martin around. Oh, that is devastating for Martin. He's going to be furious about that. And it looks like that was Scurlock. Sorry, not Scurlock. Purnell just getting up there. Just got a little bit wide and went up into Martin. And everybody else seems to have avoided that one. But that was a big moment for Martin, and that is going to really be costly. Martin is, of course, he's not locked into the chase, so he's got to fight for those positions. And now he is right at the back of the pack, and with some damage on the car as well.
Yeah, everyone did really, really well to not run in the back of each other and pull up and not get into a bigger wreck.
Yeah, very lucky for a lot of those guys to avoid that incident. They're going to be thankful of that one. But that is a big scalp. Martin going around there. It looks like he didn't receive too much damage. I mean, there's a bit of damage on the rear of that car. I'm just going back to have a look at that one again. But he went round and. Yeah, that's going to really that could be a really big affecting moment here for the chase. Just went up around and yeah, some heavy damage on the back of the car. The front looks fine, but the back is really quite crumpled on that car now, and that's going to be that can be a championship changer right now.
Yeah, as we see Matt Danson and Ryan stay out under yellow for some reason. Obviously they think they can make it, but it's not worth pitting at the moment.
Yeah, well, obviously they've still got some fuel on board, but I don't think that's the right call, personally. I think that might be a bit of a poor call on them. Those tyres are a couple of laps, so not much on green flag running, but they've been out there for 6 full laps. Most of them under caution, however. But Matt Danson doesn't have anything to lose. Ryan Shelton's not got anything to lose. He's just going to try for positions. You know, that's his goal. So why not throw the dice and try something different? You know, these guys they don't have much to lose in this race at all. They can afford to throw the dice and try a different strategy, and it looks like that's what they're doing. This caution has really sort of thrown a few people into disarray, I think, and caused a few issues for some of those drivers. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, as someone doing quietly well tonight is Chris, with JCW and Edward behind him, so we'll see how this all plays out.
Yeah, Chris, of course, you know, he's really going to be wanting to get up there, but he's going to be wanting to help his teammate out, Scurlock, and you know, he's in it to try and get his teammate through to that chase position, which he currently is. You know, that's a big thing for him. Of course, you know, the tinfoil hat wearing community will of course say that was a, you know, there's definitely something in that, and those guys are not going to be trying anything like that at all. You know, that wreck could have cost everybody behind him the race. You know, it's a really, you don't want to do things like that at the front of the pack, and you could have cost 2 of your teammates the chance to get through to the chase. So definitely nothing intentional there, but it's an easy mistake to make. And as we've seen, these cars have been very hard to drive out there tonight, as the sun is definitely sort of not really shone through at all. It's still very cloudy over top, and it's still quite a cold, quite a chilly track as well. Still 18 degrees out there, and the track's only 22 degrees. And when we think back to qualifying, how hot it was in that, it's very different out there, very different conditions.
And just going back to that remark, just so everyone at home knows, we do have officials that look over the replays after the races, and they make calls on whether drivers have to take a penalty, whether it be points or next race or whatever, starting from the back or whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big thing, and we do have our marshals there. Our stewards, even, that's the word I was looking for. Our stewards there as the pace car comes in, and we're going to get back to green flag racing as Matt Danson's going to lead away, and he pulls away. Ryan Shelton in second, Scurlock just behind him, getting a good start over Shelton there. Race is back on.
Yeah, they all seem to run a very single file at the start of the restart, and then it seems to thicken out into 2 and 2.5 lines, maybe 3.
Yeah, that restart, people are a bit hesitant to get up there. As we saw, it really cost JCW a few positions earlier in this race. And as the race as everybody starts to get a little bit of breath in their car and gets it running a bit, then they can start feeling comfortable on that outside line a little bit. I wonder if maybe it's just a thing of just the car's just not quite feeling up to tyre heat, things like that. If the car just feels a little bit worse on that restart, you just need to get a little bit of energy through those tyres. Of course, there's also the thing of, you can lose quite a few positions on a restart if you hung out to dry, and then you can't get back into formation, and then once you get racing again, everybody starts to spread out a bit, and you've got those opportunities to duck back in the field. Jason Martin making a very good restart though. He's worked his way up to 13th position. To 13th position. Oh, I was right the first time around. He's going to try his best to work his way back up there. He's sitting right behind. Yeah, his lap times are not falling off, so that's a good thing. He's got some good lap times in there, and actually that last lap was the fastest lap out of everybody, so maybe that rear damage is helped the car slightly for this restart. A little bit less downforce maybe, but he's setting some good times, and that's good to see, as Foster works his way up to second at the moment, getting a good little bit of push from JCW, Josh Carroll-Walden, working his way to third place, and yeah, everybody's all over the place at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. And we're going to see if Danson's staying out a little bit longer is going to start affecting him, because it doesn't look like he's got the speed over these other guys. It looks like those tyres may be just a little bit gone compared to the rest of the field. Of course, sort of getting 2 restarts underway on those tyres can cause a little bit more stress on them. They have to go through their cycles as well, and all those lovely things about tyres heating up and cooling down. So he might have just lost a little bit of pace on that one, but everybody else has got a little bit more fuel on board, so a little bit heavier as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out.
Yeah, and I guess you always got to remember that Danson is the one breaking the air at the moment, and all the other guys are in the draft too.
Yes, and for Danson's strategy, I don't think that's what he's going to want to do, because, as I said, I don't think he's safely going to get one more stop underway. He's going to need, from my working out, as I was looking at it, he's going to need probably 2 more stops, but stranger things have happened. We'll have to see how it goes. So he might make it through, but I think he'll need a bit of a splash and a dash just to get it there. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, everyone at the moment, they'll be thinking about their strategy, but so far everyone's keeping it very clean on the track.
Yeah, we've got those 2 lines working in the mid-pack at the moment, with Scurlock on that outside line at the moment, with with the recovering Matthew Kloet, that caution actually worked out extremely well for him after that botched pit stop. But working up right behind them is Jason Martin, who is, I think he's got the bit between his teeth now. I think somebody's put the red mist down on Martin, and he's going to be trying his best to work his way back up the field.
Yeah, as we're seeing Joshua being very pacey behind Danson at the moment and moving around.
Yes, the two extremely bright, almost rainbow cars out at the front. Two of the brighter cars in the ANZCAR Cup series, with Danson and JCW, Josh Carroll Walden there at the front. Good to see some nice colour variation at the front of the pack.
Yeah, definitely. There's some really nice design cars here, like the Riley Curtis design, and you know, a lot of time and effort goes into these custom paints, so it's always nice to have them floating around the track.
It is, of course, a team that have got some fantastic paint jobs as well, Illusion Motorsport. Those guys have got a couple of different designs out on the track. You've got Chris Purnell in the black and white and gold variant, Scurlock in the black and white, and then Stephen Williams in the classic black, white, yellow and blue. So, you know, a few different colours. You know, one of the big things in NASCAR, of course, is teammates don't have to have matching colour schemes, and it's one of the things I always enjoyed about American racing. It's the not having to have the exact same colours for the teammates. You know, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, well, each driver is normally individually sponsored by different sponsors, so it's very different. It's just what team or umbrella they're under as such. So it's good to see some of the drivers having different colours throughout their team.
Yes, of course, famously, if you're an open wheeler fan, you'll have remembered the introduction of I've completely forgotten the name of the team now. That is incredibly embarrassing. Good old brain. I gotta love it when it's working. But yes, you know, having multiple colours for the teams, it is really nice to see, and these guys have got some really good paint schemes out there.
Yeah, and even with some of the Australian racing, the V8 supercars, with teams running multiple paint schemes depending on sponsors. And this weekend, actually, now I'm having a brain fart. This weekend, anyway, is the retro round. So they've wound the clock back and put some retro paints on some of the cars.
And you've got to love the retro rounds. They always make for an interesting set of paint schemes. BAR, that's what I was thinking of, British American Racing. Of course, who turned into Honda, who turned into Mercedes. You know, a long sort of trek there to get there. But yeah, BAR famously, when they came into Formula One, being from the American series, they had individually coloured cars for different teammates, and F1 didn't like that, so they ended up going with the half and half car. Absolutely disgusting paint job of splitting the two paint schemes down the middle and putting one on one half and one on the other. But yes, the retro paint schemes and all that kind of stuff, it makes it a bit more personality, I think. It just adds more to the series.
Yeah, well, it can definitely be a bit tiring on the eye seeing the same paint jobs week in, week out. So in stock car racing or NASCAR, they tend to change it up depending on the track and the round. They have their retro rounds, they have all types of different rounds, cancer rounds, you know, so they have a lot of different paint jobs. As we've seen, a driver like Chase Elliott go from having Napa to Hooters on his car to all different types of sponsors throughout the season.
Now when you say cancer rounds, do you mean Sonoma, or do you mean the cancer raising awareness for charity?
The second one.
And as we go through, Danson's still got the lead. Carroll Walden just sitting nicely in behind him, and he's going to be able to make that car last a bit longer. Foster's just sitting there in third place, doing really good in that position, as climbing up the order still is Jason Martin. He's not made many positions. He's sort of sitting down there in 12th position, 13th position again. Sorry, as we go through. So he's not gaining as quite as well as he was before. He's going to be really trying his best to get up there though. As it stands though, we've got Foster, Michelmore and Kloet, and those three drivers are putting themselves in good contention for getting through to the next step of the chase.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you're a big open wheeler fan, so what do you think of the Lewis Hamilton World Championship again?
Yeah, well, it's another title for him. He's one of those drivers that's incredibly talented, but he's not one of the fan favourites. I would say he's got his fans, and rightly so. He's incredibly talented, but he's got a very good car as well. So I think everybody's looking forward to the 2021 championship and getting some new car designs in there. It's a bit like a sort of any series really. When somebody dominates, I think back to some of the NASCAR drivers that have done it. People like Jeff Gordon and stuff.
Yeah,
Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. Where they have just dominated for years and years and years, and then you bring in things like the chase to try and counter that, and it's hard because as much as these guys deserve it, you need to sort of make it interesting for fans, and that's a problem that all motorsport faces. And even in ANZCAR, of course, we've got some of the drivers that are at the top of their game at the moment, and top of the just incredibly skilled. But we don't want to see the same winner week in and week out. We want to see some competition between these guys. And having the chase formula in there this year has meant there is this competition. There is this chance that, other people can just snatch away the championship. And it's thrown in a few surprises for us this year. As we expected, we kind of expected Jason Martin or Matt Danson to get through to the final. And those two are pretty much the sort of top ones to guarantee there. But as we've seen tonight, we've got a big off at the back. Stephen Williams has just gone into the wall, and it's just going to have a little bit of look back at that one. And Shelton as well. So yeah, a couple of drivers just going off there. So Shelton and Williams have just Williams has followed Shelton off there. It looks like Shelton just got up behind Scurlock and maybe got a bit of air loss as the caution flag has come out as well for another incident. That would be somebody out on the track as Jason Martin's gone round. Jason Martin has gone round again. Let's see what happened there. Jason Martin just coming through into turn one, trying to see what's actually happened here. He's coming through the corner and he's just got behind one of the illusion cars, and a big moment for Martin as looks like that's
not a return of serve there, is it?
No, it's they've been going at it pretty hard for the past few laps, him and Purnell, it's just having a look back on this one. It looks like Purnell's actually just, I hate to say it looks like he just dropped his engine a little bit, just slowed down a bit and just got into Martin. So, calling that as we see it, looks like Purnell has just taken Martin out there.
As JCW accidentally missed his pit stop, so...
Yeah, Carol Walden's just made the mistake going into the pits there. But that's huge for Jason Martin. That's taken him out of contention, and I think Jason's actually retired the car from the race. So I think that's Jason Martin out of this championship. That is huge news for Jason Martin. A huge moment in championship there. That's a huge moment as Danson retains the lead, and it looks like Foster got out in second place, so good job for him. But that is a that's going to be a bit of a controversial one there, I think.
Yeah, the Stewarts will definitely have a look over the whole 2 incidents there and weigh things up, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard one to call as well because, obviously in this chase situation that we are in, it's one of the favourites, and it's not playing a thing of favourites here. It's a literal, one of the favourites for winning, last year's champion, Jason Martin. He's a pretty big scalp, and well, him being taken out by that by a teammate of somebody that's also in contention for the chase. It's one of those things that's going to be. I think there's going to be a bit of a controversy behind this one.
Yeah, no, this definitely won't be the last you hear or see of it, I'm sure. Then, if people are, with the last round coming up in 2 weeks, there'll be emotions running high. I'm sure people may have to take the opportunity to take frustration out there if it comes to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and it just goes to show you're not safe. Jason Martin, he was having a good race. He was running up the front all race long, and things were looking good for him. And him being out is, as I say, that's a huge loss to the championship, a huge loss to the chase. And it's shaking things up. And like we were saying before, we don't want the same winners year in, year out, but at the same time, we want those people to be in contention. With Jason being out of it, last year's champion is out of contention for the championship this year. That's huge news, and well, Matt Danson's gonna be helped out an awful lot by this, of course, because he's through to the next round. But a few other drivers are going to be sitting pretty with that. Currently, we've got Foster, Michelmore, and Kloet up in the positions to get through to the next round. Just sitting outside of that is Scurlock. So it's going to be a big one to see who goes through, because the only other cars in contention now for chase positions are Scurlock and Williams, both illusion cars. And as I said, I don't want to call in conspiracy theories here, but it's with Jason Martin being taken out there, it's a big gain for a couple of drivers. But we'll have to see how things shake out for the race and see what happens.
Yeah, so for JCW there, even though he missed his pit bay, at least starting on the inside, but that also gives the 2 Riley Curtis design cars a go on the outside there as teammates.
It does, as we go back to the green flag racing, and it looks like JCW's just bogged down a little bit on that restart, and this is going to give Foster a little bit of a chance to tuck in there, and he does indeed. Right away, he's tucked in there in front of Carl Walden. And just behind them is Michelmore. So those guys are going to be really pushing hard. And, well, it's the thing now is, do you push too hard? Because obviously you've got a championship to think about as well as a race win here. These guys are going to be wanting to get through to the next round. It's important to get to that next stage, and you've got to be in it to win it. As Josh Michelmore gets a fantastic run there through the start-finish line, has got himself up to second place. Fantastic drive there for Michelmore. Really good lick of speed there for him.
Yeah, he seemed to come from nowhere there, really. But like you say, drivers are going to want to be careful, because there is a chance to make it home from here on tyres and fuel. So do you run it till the end, or do you have to pit again, depending on cautions? And that'll be the decision that the drivers have to make tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to make it to the end from here. I don't think anyone's... it's going to be touch and go. I think people are going to be pushing to make it to the end. People are going to be trying their best to save fuel right now. It's going to be a bit of a fuel-saving race to the end here, but if you can make the leaders push as well, if they have to push a bit harder and use up a bit more of that fuel, you could be sitting pretty in the mid-pack for a win right now if you've got that little bit of extra fuel. Currently, everybody is on the same strategy down to Ryan Shelton, who's the first guy that's got one lap more of fuel, so to say. this could be an interesting finish to the race, though, as the front guys are really battling it out. Great driving here from Michelmore, Foster, Carol Walden, and Riley Curtis as well, getting themselves up there. Yeah, so the pit window's open now, really, and it's like, from now, you know, I don't think anyone's going to be able to make it home from what we've seen. We saw people go about 54, 55 laps. So it's possible somebody might be able to just eat their way through. But I don't see it happening somehow. You know, they've got to save about 3 or 4 laps of fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, it all depends on what happens these next coming laps with all this close pack racing. You never know what's going to happen. But drivers will probably be, if it comes to it, driving to a number towards the end if they don't want to do another stop.
Yes, it's... I don't see them really driving to those numbers, because you can just see that Matt Danson's just pulling out. He's setting some fairly good lap times as well. You know, these guys are not going slow. So I don't see them getting to that point. But stranger things have happened. You know, anything can happen, and it usually does if you, to quote Murray Walker.
Yeah, anything can happen, so we'll see. It'll just play out.
We'll have to see how this goes. So yeah, that's it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here on out. And everybody's still very close. You know, we've still got drivers that everyone down to 16th is on the lead lap. Ryan McCarthy is back on that lead lap, so going quite well for him. He's managed to get it back up there after a couple of little mistakes earlier on. Phil Otto is 2 laps down, so he's the last of the runners at the moment. A guy that's doing pretty well as well, just keeping quiet in the sort of race, is Paul Jackson. Great job from him, just sitting up there in 14th place at the moment, just keeping quiet, keeping out of trouble, and doing what you need to do in sort of a race where you're sort of getting used to racing these guys. You know, you don't want to be pushing too hard. Tristan Koch's just sitting behind him down in 15th place as well. So, you know, these guys are doing well. Down in 13th, you've got Stephen Williams, who's battling with them at the moment. The last of the guys that can get through to the chase. But at the front, we've got the 2 Riley Curtis design team cars now, just starting to get in formation and possibly looking to try and chase down Danson.
Yeah, JCW dropped way off back to 7th now, so I don't know if he burnt through his tyres trying to attack Danson there right at the beginning, or if he's saving at the moment.
Yeah, he might just be trying to save a little bit possibly, or just, you know, he did get sort of caught out on one of the lines a little bit earlier on, and it's biding your time as well. You know, you don't have to be fast right now, you just have to be in contention. Because it's really, you know, the last 10 laps here are going to be the ones where everyone's going to be pushing hard. And if you can save a little bit more than the rest of the field, you might be doing well.
The only lap you have to lead is the last one.
Yep, absolutely. You can't win a race in the first corner, but you sure as heck can lose it. And, well, that goes for every other lap but the last one. And even the last one, the last couple of metres before a finish line, you should say. You know, it's so easy to lose a race, and that's another thing that people forget when they're watching these races. You know, it does look easy, it does look pretty simple, it doesn't look too hard sometimes, and you think, oh, that wouldn't be too hard, but it absolutely can, and it's hard to keep consistent over these laps. You know, you're doing 166 laps where you have to be absolutely on pace, have to be consistent, have to keep the car in good position, have to not make a mistake, and it's very hard to do.
Yeah, it is. I always get those people that say, oh, driving in a circle's easy. I say, go out there and do 2 to 300 laps like a iRacing official NASCAR series. So then that makes them quiet normally afterwards.
Yep, it's you know, it's not. racing a simulator is not as bad as racing a race car sometimes, although the force feedback on the simulators these days really gives you a workout. It can really tire you out. It's a bit knackering sometimes, I must admit. And when you're actually on a full simulator rig as well, that can really tire you out because your body's being thrown around and all that kind of stuff. You get a good workout from it. When you're actually in one of these cars as well, one of the things you get a lot is, a lot of open wheelers and a lot of European racers go, oh, oval racing, that's simple, that's just, there's nothing to that, it's easy, I could do that. When you get to it, it's not that easy. There are a few people that can do it. Guys springs to mind, like Nigel Mansell, who was just, Nigel Mansell, so of course he could do it. Fernando Alonso's shown he's had some really good pace. And, people like Takuma Sato and stuff like that, who have really shown they've grown with NASCAR and grown with IndyCar and open wheelers on ovals. It's a very different racing style to road courses, a very different racing style, but it's still as physical. It's still tiring. And on a track like Texas, there are a lot of G's going through you. It's not as bad as the early days. Back in the 2000s, 2001, I was working for Penske when we were actually racing at Texas in kart. And it was not easy getting the car to actually hold together for those laps, let alone the driver who was pulling a sustained 5G around this course. Around those corners, they were pulling 4 to 5G constantly, and a lot of drivers were getting dizzy and even blacking out mid-corner. It's not quite up to that level in a NASCAR, of course, because they're not quite as fast, but they're still going bloody fast. They're still putting a lot of energy through you. And it is just a very tiring sport. It's not easy to do. You don't get those little periods of rest, especially on a short track like this, where you can have that little bit of a straight where you can sort of rest your head to one side to get a little bit of a neck pain out of the way. On an oval, you're constantly getting that G-force, pushing your head to the right-hand side. There is almost no rest period.
Yeah, and it all depends on your gear. Like you said, I have gear from HRS or Hybrid Racing Simulations, and I've just recently got a chassis and direct drive wheel for them, and that's 33 newton meters torque, can rotate at 1000 RPM, and the brake pedal on my new pedals is 100 kg every time I push against it. So there's a lot of force there in all the new technology, and now I'm looking at getting the motion platform off those guys, so that'll be another change in having that feeling of everything moving around you.
It's tiring, that's the thing. There's a lot that goes through there, and once you get motion platforms in there as well, there's a lot to do. Dave Douglas just coming into the pits now. I don't know if he's coming in for a stop or coming to put the car out of its misery. We'll have to see here for Douglas. Looks like he's coming in for a bit of a stop, so he might be the first one of these guys to actually stop. Not a bad move for Douglas here. He could possibly pull something out of the bag if he's got to go back out again, and could possibly do quite well as we see somebody else coming into the pit lane as well. So people are starting to think about this race now for those pit stops. Stephen Williams is coming for the pits as well. So obviously you're going to be on fresher tyres. You're going to have a slightly heavier car, but you've got the fuel to make it to the end so you can push. If these guys have got to stop again, they could lose quite a few positions here. This could trigger everybody having to come into stops just to cover themselves. This race is not over, for sure. Tristan Koch as well coming in. A few drivers just trickling through the pit lane now, and I wonder if anyone's going to try and stick out there just in case a caution comes, but you can't wait too long. You can't leave this too long, because the longer you leave it, the more painful this is going to be.
Well, someone who's having a good run on their older tyres and is now pushing their tyres, when we saw him saving earlier, is JCW. He's back up in the force, so he's doing quite well for himself.
And speaking of people being triggered to come into the pit stop, Michael Scurlock has come in and is stopping. So one of the guys that's up there for the chase position, he's coming in to stop now. So this is going to make a few of those other guys have to think. Matt Danson might just not have to think about this. He could just go for it, because as I say, he's got nothing to lose at the moment. he's going to want the race win because it's, you know, he's going to want the race win because it's Danson and he likes winning races. But he's into the next round. He's got no reservations to do this. Whereas everybody else has got to start thinking, we need to probably cover this guy off. You know, especially those guys in the chase like Foster, Michelmore, Kloet. You know, these guys are going to have to start thinking about it as Ryan Shelton comes in as well. So these guys are starting to trickle into the pits here, and they don't want to leave it too long because they're going to start losing quite a few positions. Of course, the other thing as well you've got to weigh up is when you go out there, if it's going to remain green for the rest of the race, you're going to want to be on the stickier tyres towards the end of the race. You don't want to leave it too long, obviously, but you want to have some pace towards the end of the race and not be sort of left out there just unable to do anything to attack guys.
Yeah, it's an interesting call because would you rather have pace right now or at the end of the race when it really counts?
Yeah, it's tricky to call. I mean, we've got just over 26 laps to go. You're not going to want to leave it too much longer. I think people are going to think about with 20 laps to go. People are going to start really thinking about stopping because if they don't, they're going to lose too much pace. They're going to lose too much time, and they might not be able to get back those positions that they lose. You're going to need to leave yourself a bit of time to attack. As Kloet he's definitely fuel saving. I've just gone on board to Matthew Kloet, and he was switching his engine off mid-corner. He was letting it idle. He was rolling around those corners. Not the fastest way to go, not the fastest guy out there, but he is fuel saving. He's just letting that car just go off the fuel, just saving that bit of fuel every lap. Just going to go and have a look at Danson as well, see how he's going. And he seems to be pretty much full throttle around the track still. He's still up there. Kloet is definitely going to be fuel saving though, so it looks like Kloet might be the one to stay out there and roll that dice. So we'll have to see how that goes for him, how it works out, because that's going to be a interesting decision, and will it work for him?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as our top four are still out at the moment, so I'm not sure if they're going to try and run the strategy or if they're going to come in.
Yeah, it's... As I said, having a look around, listen to the cars. The front guys are not pushing too hard, but they're not super fuel saving at the moment. They're not not like Kloet. They're not sort of just idling the car mid-corner and just giving the old engine a quick switch off and switch on. So they're trying their best to conserve a bit of fuel but also have pace. So it does make me think that maybe they will come in for that last stop. It's going to be interesting here. We think we could see some really different strategies play out right now.
Yeah, and we've all seen those famous videos of the NASCAR shake as they're coming over the line to get that last sniff of fuel.
We have, and Kloet's got to stop. He's losing positions. I can't see this working out for Kloet. He's still ahead of Scurlock, but and the caution is out. Dave Douglas, I think, has gone round, so we think Dave Douglas will just go and have a little look at that. Yeah, Dave Douglas is just going through the corner, and he's just gone onto the apron, lost the car in front of Williams, managed to keep it from contact, and almost collecting one of the MFR guys, but he's gone right round, and this is going to trigger everybody to come in and stop, surely. Nobody's going to roll the dice now, everybody's going to have to stop, and this is going to really affect some of those guys that stopped under green. This is what we were talking about, you know, you're going to want to stay out there and catch the caution if you can.
Someone who really won out of that was Dave's teammates there, Edward and Riley. They pitted just before the yellow come out, so they won out on that one.
Worked well in that sort of way. Yeah, that could really help them out now. yes, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Let's see what happens from here on in. I think we're going to see a lot of stops, though, in the next couple of moments. Yeah, we're going to see some serious stopping now. Guy that it didn't work out too well for is going to be Kloet. He's going to lose a few positions from this one. He still had some time, but it's going to be interesting to see if, and he does. Scurlock has stayed out, so that's what I wanted to see, because that's the big one. Scurlock, he did pit, so he's staying out, but everybody else from the lead has come in. Even Foster and Curtis are coming in as well, so they did just stop.
Interesting call. I wonder what happened there. If they misclicked or, didn't get enough fuel in the car or didn't put new tyres on by accident.
Yeah, it's yeah, they stopped on 144. I actually wonder if that going back to have a little bit of a look-see at this one, the caution came out as they were going into the pit stop. That has actually negatively affected both of those drivers, because they came in just as Douglas spun it. Luckily, I guess luckily, they didn't actually lose many positions from that, but they didn't stop. They hadn't changed their tyres or anything like that, got fuel or anything like that, so they had to stop again. So this is really cost them a lot of time. So it may have looked like it worked out for the team there, but Douglas has actually screwed over his teammates, unfortunately. That was an unfortunate spin for him, because he went round just as they were coming into the pit lane, so obviously they couldn't stop because the caution came out.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because normally if you stop with a closed pit lane, you just get put to the end of the longest line, which is the end of the pack, but I don't know what happened there. Whenever you enter the closed pit, but they were in there as the caution fell, so...
Yeah, I think what's happened is they've both got in there just before the caution flag fell, and the caution flag fell as they were just in the actual pit lane, so I don't know if maybe they had to just drive through and then carry on. It's not cost them a heap of time. It could have been a lot worse for them, but it has dropped them down the order a bit. It's dropped Foster behind Kloet, and guy that it's worked out for quite well is Josh Michelmore. Worked out very well for him as well. So yeah, that's thrown a cat amongst the pigeons there.
Yeah, it made it very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see what happens here now after this caution shakes down a bit, because that's really thrown things around and changed things up. And I also wonder if possibly Scurlock has I don't know if they've got a penalty, because they're having to drop back as well. So I don't know what's happened to the RCD boys right now. It's just shaking things up a little bit, and as always, another controversial moment in this race.
Yeah, well, that could have worked in Foster's and Riley's hand right there, but unfortunately, whatever happened in pit lane, I don't know, has now put them a fair way back.
Yeah, it's thrown them around a bit. It's yeah, this is a real big shake-up, and it's this race is full of controversial things happening tonight. It's one of those races, I think.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to hear about it from the drivers' perspectives after the race.
It will, as the pace car is going to be coming in this lap, and we're going to go back to green, and we're going to be running a bit of a sprint race here for the rest of this race. As the pace car goes in, and Danson's going to drop the hammer any minute now. He does, gets away. And I think the Riley Curtis design team have got a penalty maybe. Or Riley Curtis has. Because he's had to come in again. He's had to stop again. As well as Stephen Williams. I wonder if Stephen Williams has also got a penalty. Because those guys have had to come in for another stop. So more things are happening here. So good old rulebook stuff. Just trying to see what's actually happening now through the actual order of things. Yeah, that's really thrown things around a bit for them.
Yeah, maybe they got a speeding penalty going in the first time, and that's why they didn't stop and went back around. And maybe Riley picked up a second one.
And Foster as well has had to come in too. So a disaster for those guys. A real disastrous race there for Foster. As JCW comes down, cuts across the grass, and is going to try and get a front of Danson. He does. He's pushing Danson out wide, and it looks like Michelmore's going to try and get in there as well. Danson's had to drop in behind Carol Walden. Carol Walden's going to be trying his best to keep out in front as Danson goes down the inside for the turns 3 and 4. They get nice and close to each other as Danson comes down the inside, gets back in front of Carol Walden. Great racing up the front. And Carol Walden, is he going to try again to get underneath the grass there? And a car has just gone round. The 43 has gone round. Try and have a look to see what's happened there. It looks like we've remained green. And everything's remained green, but somebody did go around. I was trying to figure out who that was, actually. And that was Koch, yeah. So Koch has gone round, and at least we've managed to remain green. But the front is heating up here. As Carol Walden's carrying on that high line, as we've got Kloet and Michelmore now racing side by side. It's a disaster for Foster, who's dropped right back. He's dropped right back to the end of the field, obviously, with that penalty. Williams is currently up in 12th position. But yeah, this battle for the lead is really heating up now.
Yeah, it's a mystery what went on with those guys. There was either something not working with their pit stop management system or what. But we've got
and we've got a caution as Riley Curtis is in the wall. It's gone from bad to worse for Riley Curtis as he's gone around, coming over the start-finish line. He's just caught the little bit of grass there going into turn 1. He caught the grass going into turn 1, has lost the car on entry, big impact into the wall, and I think that's going to be the end of his race, nearly taking out one of the other cars there of... sorry, having trouble identifying cars at the moment. That was his teammate, McCarthy, nearly taking him out on the... getting back on the course. And that's for another caution in for here. So, again, another caution right now.
So, what are you thinking, tyres or no tyres?
It's a hard call. It's going to be tricky. We've got people like Foster, who's 2 laps down. He's going to obviously stay out there and try and gain some positions back. What do you do right now? Looks like they're coming in and...
Okay, some people have gone past the cone and then come back out. That's totally not legal there.
And Michelmore both went past the cone to come back out.
I'm sure that'll be looked at after the race here tonight.
Yeah, that being past the cone there as well. I thought that would be iRacing would ping that one as well. Yeah, they both stayed out there. They did jink in Carol Walden. Carol Walden and a couple of other guys as well got sort of caught out in that caution. Well, I say caught out, but they've stopped for some fresh tyres. The Middle Finger Racing guys as well, both MFR guys of Kloet and Norman Clark, who's having a fantastic run up in 7th place at the moment, well, as the caution went out, both come in for fresh tyres as everybody else has stayed out. But passing the cone... Yeah, they're not going to lose many positions, so they're not in a bad spot. But the big question is now, do those drivers get a penalty for going past the cone? Because, as my understanding had it, it was that cone was the...
It's literally called the commitment cone, right?
Yes. of course, there is the secondary cones as you actually get onto pit road, the speed limit cones, but that cone there, that should be the you get in trouble if you don't stop cone. And that's both Michelmore and Danson there. God, more drama, more stuff. This race is just turning into a bit of a...
JCW come up the outside of the packs. I don't know if there's been some type of position given back here or what's going on.
Yeah, it's... Oh, gosh, there is a lot going on right now, and a lot of rulebook stuff, which is never a fun thing for me. You know, real life rules I can get quite easily, but iRacing is a bit of a different beast sometimes. We're going to have to see what happens here. We're going to have to see what shakes out. Carol Walden, you know, obviously, these guys have not lost any position. Stopping was the right call. As Clark, Kloet, and Carol Walden, they're not really losing any positions. And Scurlock stayed out there. Danny G, Josh Michelmore, and Matt Danson. But with Danson and Michelmore, they both cut that cone there. So we'll have to see what happens there. Obviously, it's we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see what happens after this race when it all shakes out. We've not got many more laps to go. We're on lap 158 of 166 now, and we're going back to green very shortly. I'd say the guy this has worked out most for is JCW. He's going to be on those nice fresh tyres. Nice fuel, nice bit of... Well, he probably didn't actually need fuel. He's probably just on nice fresh tyres now. He'll have enough fuel to get to the end of the race. Will this work out well for him?
Yeah, is Danson down there trying to save fuel again, or is he just driving down?
He's saving fuel still. So again, he's dropping right down below the line to save fuel. So, you know, pushing the boundaries of the rules to the limit, as everybody else stays on track. But does he need to save fuel? That's a big question now. He shouldn't have to. I mean, they've only done 13 laps, so he should have fuel to the end. He shouldn't need to save any more fuel than that. So maybe it's just a sort of trying to sort of throw people off, just a bit of a mind game, as the pace car comes in again, and we're going to go back to green very, very shortly. Danny G lined up behind Danson. Green again, away we go, and let's see what happens. We've got 7 laps to go in this race now, and well, who knows what's going to happen. Danny G getting a good start there on the bottom line. He's moving up in to try and look at taking past Matt Danson. Could Danny G come out of the mid-pack and claim a victory here? We've also got Kloet there climbing his way up to 3rd place, and JCW as well getting a good push from Ryan Shelton at the moment. These guys are really going to be quite hungry, and they've got some speed and also fresh tyres, which these front 2 guys don't have. This could be a really good move for Kloet or Joshua Carroll Walden right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And don't put to rest a big wreck here at the end yet to take out half of these drivers if they get real aggressive.
Yes, well, we did say earlier on this is going to be a tricky race, this is going to be a hard race, and this is going to be one where, well, we thought some wrecks were going to happen. We've seen some crashes, not some huge wrecks. We've seen some people go out of contention. We've seen Jason Martin go out in a pretty bad crash, but could we see Joshua Carroll Walden getting up into first here? He's definitely got some speed, and with those fresher tyres, he's got that grip to go around the outside of Danson. Ryan Shelton is looking quite racy now, going down the inside as well. He just clips the grass there, trying to get past Danson on the inside. He's got some serious speed. Joshua Carroll Walden's going to watch out because he's just dropping back now. He's just on that outside line, and he's starting to lose a bit of pace as he falls back behind. Could we see Ryan Shelton get the victory here?
I don't know. JCW would definitely have, I'm sure, the angry eyes on after that incident with Danson and getting faked out, so I'm sure he'd have a bit more to adrenaline, anger, whatever you want to say, pumping around in the system at the moment, so he'll be really fighting for that spot.
Yeah, he's going to be. He's hungry as well. You know, don't put it past. He's very hungry for that first win in the Cup Series, and he's looking good all race long as he comes down the inside of Shelton. As we've got 3 laps to go, it's JCW down the inside of Shelton and right on the tail of Danson right now. Everybody is really racing hard, trying to get these positions up. A guy that's not worked out too well for is Michelmore, who's dropped way back. He's down in 8th place now. He's dropped all the way back down to 8th, and actually dropped behind Scurlock. So big moment for him as we've got JCW on the outside getting a bit of a push from Ryan Shelton right here, and that's going to help him get past Danson possibly, and he does he? It's going to be close as they just gently nudge each other very close to touching there, the two, as we come around for lap 165. And after this with the white flag and a big crash at the back. We've got a caution as one of the illusion cars, Stephen Williams, has gone around and wrecked in the mid-pack. A big moment for Williams there.
And now this is where the green white checker will come into it, and we'll see if this will be another test on driver fuel. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens here.
It will be. Yeah, oh God, this race has had everything tonight. Yeah, Stephen Williams just getting a bit loose, I think, on turn 3. Look, yeah, he's. It looks like he's just got in front of Danny G, just blocking his position, and looks like Danny G was just not wanting to give up that, well, not wanting to stop going past in that moment, and he has he's pushed his way up there. But of course, this has also helped out when JCW at the front of the pack.
Yeah, he had a good charger and got that position just before the caution come out, so he'd have to be happy with that one.
He will be, as Danson tries to lure some people into the pits again with his through cone driving, and it doesn't pay off this time. Nobody's fallen for that trick twice, and yeah, this is going to help out Carol Walden for sure, because he's going to have those slightly fresher tyres. Green light checker to go. Oh, this is going to be a close one.
Yeah, and it's, Ryan is right there, so at the moment 2 of my 3 drivers in the top 3.
Yeah, it's going well for your call tonight. I'll have to apologise to Jason Martin for putting the commentator's curse on him then, because it looks like that's what I've done to him. This is going to be a close one. This could be, well, it could be anyone's race from here. We've got for the chase positions, we've got Kloet in 4th, we've got Scurlock in 7th, and we've got Michelmore in 8th. And those guys are pretty much set in. They've got 2 laps on their closest rival, which is Foster. So, yeah, disastrous set of moments for the Riley Curtis design team, where obviously they got a penalty for their stop and all of that kind of stuff. As we see Scurlock coming in. Obviously, he's not gonna lose a position right now. Really, he's in no position to lose. He's only going to lose a position to Josh Michelmore, but he's going to be on fresh tyres and all that kind of stuff. So worth the gamble, I imagine. The only thing that could possibly go wrong is if he speeds or makes a mistake in the pit lane and loses a couple of laps, which I'm sure Foster will be praying for.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have a chat, I'm sure, with Foster and find out what actually happened there and what went on.
Yeah,
it's still pushing the rules being on the bottom line there.
Yeah, Danson's been playing with the rules a bit tonight with that bottom line. You know, it's one of those things of I still, you know, I think we're gonna have to look at the cone gate, because we had a similar thing happen a few races ago, if I remember correctly, where it was very much getting past the initial cone and apparently being absolutely fine about it. So obviously in the iRacing rulebook it is a thing that is fine, but again it's thrown things completely out the window for this race.
Yeah, it's definitely made it interesting, and we're going to see a green-white checkered here shortly. So, for those that don't know, it goes green. The next lap around it's the white flag, and last lap it's a checkered flag. So, these drivers are now having to push their fuel a bit further than they thought because we're nearly up 170.
Yes, but it shouldn't affect anyone too much because nobody was really going for that massive fuel save. Imagine if we got this a bit earlier on when people were considering staying out a bit longer and saving their fuel. This could have really affected a few people, but who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I'm not going to say... it's impossible to say. This race has thrown up so many different things. The pace car will be coming in this lap though, and we're going back to racing for that green-white checker. And yeah, who knows what's going to happen?
And as long as they get around on the first lap clean and the white flag comes out, it doesn't matter if we go in the caution again, it keeps going.
Yeah, it's going to be close. And the pace car does come in. Carol Walden is up there in front. How's this restart going to go? He's dropped the hammer. He gets a good start over Danson, who's just
looking good on the inside there too.
Yeah, Shelton gets a good restart. Danson is in Carol Walden's position of many laps ago at the sort of early stages of this race where he got hung out a little bit on that outside line at the restart. We did see that Carol Walden lost a few positions from that. Out at the back, everybody sort of got away nice and clean. Just having a little look through there, it looks like Scurlock's going to be fighting with Michelmore right now. So the battle's going to be on there as we come round for the last time. And Shelton and Danson have touched. They've gone down and they've managed to hold it somehow. But that has taken them both out of the contention for this win, as Danny G and Kloet are battling for second place at the moment. But this is looking very good for Carol Walden, as those two go down through the lines, as there's another crash at the back, and Carol Walden crosses the finish line and gets the win. Kloet gets second place. Shelton and Danson have another contact on that last lap. Just going back to see what actually happened between those guys. Danson and Shelton have had a big coming off there. But Joshua Carol Walden has won this race. Fantastic job for JCW. And wow, what a finish. What a race.
Yeah, definitely interesting finisher. Just got caught on the bumper, so unfortunate. But at least they managed to keep the cars going, I guess.
Yeah, they somehow kept on there and then reconnected with each other a little bit later on. But that means that we've got our chase locked in now. Good drive from Kloet as well, getting from 11th to 2nd and locking himself in, the first of the chase drivers to get in there. Fantastic job from Carol Walden as well, his first victory in the Cup. Danny G gets from 9th to 3rd. Norman Clark, fantastic job as well, 10 positions, 14th to 4th. Scurlock is the second driver in the chase to get through in 5th position. And then finally is Michelmore in 6th position. Sort of didn't go too well for Michelmore at the end, but he didn't need to do too much. He was through. Ryan Shelton finished 7th with Matt Danson in 8th. 9th place on his debut outing. Good job for Ryan McCarthy, the incredibly tricky to pronounce name. He goes from 20th to 9th place, so really good job for his first time in the Cup race. Foster finishes in 10th place, where he started, but sadly out of the chase. Phil Lotto managed to get into 11th place at the end. Paul Jackson, again, a sort of relative newcomer to the Cup, managed to get 12th position in the end. Good drive for him. Tristan Koch in 13th. 14th, Michael Latterer. Stephen Williams, 15th, another driver that's been taken out of the chase. 16th was Riley Curtis. Dave Douglas was 17th, 30 laps down. Chris Purnell 18th, with Jason Martin 19th, and the big scout to drop out of the chase, obviously. And then in the last few positions, we have Hamish Gallagher, Roger Clark and Mirko Dautanac were the first of the guys to drop out of the race. But Joshua Carroll-Walden got his first victory. That was a well-deserved win.
Yeah, he must be stoked about that. And unfortunately, there's going to be some investigations after the race. Even on that final lap, there was a bit of more tangling between Ryan and Danson as a bit of payback, I think.
Yes, so if you're not already, make sure to look at Performance East, ANZCAR on the Facebook. So join Facebook, ANZCAR's Cup on Facebook to check out those post-race results. And we'll have to sort of wait and see a little bit tentatively on that one. But we're going to grab up our race winner, Joshua Carroll-Walden. JCW. Congratulations on your first win in the Cup, my good friend. Brilliant drive last time out. You got in the podium positions. We said, how do you fancy your chances for a win in these last couple of races? And you've only gone and bloody done it.
Yeah, Carl. Oh my God, man. Yeah, it's been such a long time. I've won 2 ANZCAR races. In the past, and the last one was a little over 12 months ago. So it's been a very long wait, and that race had so many ups and downs. It was insane, and yeah, I just can't believe that. This is awesome.
Well, it's not a bad way to start. Well, to pretty much finish off your season. You've had a fantastic year this season. You've really been sort of up in that sort of top 10 field, really climbing your way up there, showing off some pace and showing off consistency as well. It was a bit of a hectic race tonight, obviously. There was a lot of controversy. One of the things I've got to ask you about, though, one of the big sort of things is with that sort of second to last caution, I think it was, or the final stop for you, basically. We saw Danson come in and pull a dummy on you and looked like he was coming in to stop. Did he fool you there, or were you going to stop anyway?
Honestly, mate, Danson was non-existent at that point. I was looking at the standings page, just working out how many cars are actually on the lead lap and how many I need to pass. So I figured that if I'm to beat Danson, I need to have some sort of performance advantage over him because he is a freak, especially on worn tires. So I'm like, my whole mantra going into tonight was I don't really care what happens. I'm just going to go for the win. I'm just going to put all my eggs in that win basket and just send it really. And yeah, yeah, I've done quite a few green white checkers in the past, both in ANZCAR and in official racing like NIS. So I know the tricks pretty well, and yeah, that was definitely the right call, and it worked in my favour. That I think it was Norman and Matthew Kloet came in with me. That just worked in my favour more.
It did pay off quite well for you guys. Yeah, all three of you guys, it worked out well for you in the end. And well, it's been a long time coming, but congratulations on that one. Yeah, fantastic drive tonight. You look like you had some speed out there as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think throughout practice, qualifying, I was very comfortable, very settled. There was no point. There was no point tonight that I thought that was generally going to hit the fence or spin out. Like I was so comfortable, and then qualified P4, which I was thrilled with, and I knew I definitely had the pace over most of the guys there tonight. And yeah, I think I've really gotten my head around this high downforce package that ANZCAR uses with their cup cars, and yeah, it's just paid dividends. Really, like there were times in that race where I thought, how the hell am I gonna get a win or even a top 3? Because Dirty Air was such a big thing tonight. It was very hard to pass cars 5 laps into a stint, and yeah, honestly, mate, I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon.
Now, one thing I just want to ask before we start settling up here is just with the change from qualifying to race conditions, how much did that affect you?
Um, I don't think it really affected me too much. I think my pace would have been pretty similar, to be honest, but I don't think we'll ever know. As soon as I gridded for the race, my immediate thought was Mirko Dautanac's win at Auto Club early in the season. I'm thinking, okay, I know the fuel range, and I've got a pretty good idea of the tire drop off, so maybe I can do something there. So that's why I pitted so early in that very first stint, on lap 41, which seems like an eternity ago, just to see if I can get that, because I thought the undercut would be pretty good, but the overcut was actually pretty good tonight. So yeah, I don't think it really affected pace. I think it just messed with quite a few people's mindsets, because there were some that were neutral about it, some were thrilled, and yeah, it definitely threw the balls up in the air.
It threw a cat amongst the pigeons, as they say. Well, congratulations, and anyone you'd like to give a shout out to or thank for tonight?
Yeah, just gotta thank you and Jonathan in the box. Great commentary to round out the year. Matt Hunter with the cameras. And yeah, just thank the ANZCAR admins, Danny, Edward, Roger, and all the guys that show up week in, week out. This is a fantastic league, and yeah, I absolutely love racing in it. Even though there are times where I go a full year without winning a race.
Congratulations, JCW, and you never know. Like I'll give you another bit of rubber luck again. We might see you again before the season's out. Good luck in the last race to come, but congratulations on that win.
No worries. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, guys.
Joshua Carroll Walton there, the winner for the Cup and his first win this season. A fantastic job from him. Jono, who would you like to bring up to the box?
Well, we better bring in second place tonight, I guess.
Yes, we'll bring up Mr. Kloet, and of course, the big thing for Kloet is second place in the race, but that has got him through to the chase. Kloet, welcome to the box. Sorry, dragged you up just as you were mid-conversation there. Come with you here, and I'm just going to hand you over to Jono. And sorry for the language there.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Pretty good. Sorry, everyone.
Congratulations on the second tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Feels like a win too. Tough race out there tonight.
Yeah, so it was a tough race throughout. And how did you find the track with the temperatures and everything?
Yeah, it was good. It was racy. I was just making a real point of trying to save my tyres and that, maybe not use them up too quick too early.
Yeah, you must have got excited when that gap opened for you on that final lap.
There's a few times bloody caution keeps coming out every time I get close to the lead. I don't know what's going on there, but anyway.
Well, congratulations. Is there anything you'd like to add, Carl?
Yeah, sorry. The big thing for you, obviously, is you got second place, but most importantly, you've locked yourself in for that last race in the chase.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that. It's a bit of a question mark coming in, but some big things happened in that race. So
there were some big things, a few controversies.
Yes, I bet.
Yeah, a few things have happened. We might see some more on that in the future, but the big thing for you is you've got through. There's no question marks on that, and this means you've got a chance to wrap up the season. If you get that win possibly next week, you got that chance of taking home the big trophy as well, getting the championship win.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not fastest guy out there, but there's always hope. Anything can happen.
Yeah, it's been a good season for you as well for consistency. I think that's the big thing for you is you may not have been the fastest out there, but in the top 10, you've been in that sort of top 5 group pretty much all year.
Yeah, definitely. There's only had one or two races there. There's been big wrecks that I couldn't get through, but other than that, it's been pretty good. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out for tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to thank my team, MFR Racing. What else? Hang on. Sponsors: WP Contracting, Concreting, Snap-on Tools, Blacktown, Auto Kings, Aussie Signs and Designs, Andrews Crane Hire, Virtual Car Art, Little Tackers Boutique, the Sal Racing Team, and Gearing Motorsport. And all my teammates too.
Yeah, you probably should give that call as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, that last, just quickly before you go, that last pit stop for you as well must have helped out quite a bit.
Yep.
We saw that basically, it was a bit of a dummy thrown from Danson in the lead. Were you going to pit no matter what there?
Yes. Yes, I'd already made the decision. I wasn't racing him, so despite what he did, I was going in.
Well, it worked out extremely well for you and your teammate as well. Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you.
Well, good luck, and hopefully we'll see you up here next week.
Yeah.
Well, in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, no worries. Apologise again for the language.
Oh, it's okay. It happens now and again.
Guys.
Thanks.
Catch you guys.
Matthew Kloet there, second place man, and just going to grab down to the box somebody that we haven't spoken to for a long time, Mr. Norman Clark, I think. Norman Clark, Carl Withy here, Performance E Streaming. How are you going?
Yeah, good. And you, Carl?
Very good, thank you. Been a long time since we've seen you sort of fighting right up there for the top. A really good race for you tonight. Getting 10 positions in that race, and you must be pretty pleased with that one.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm sort of starting to get a bit up now. Like I normally say, I try and stay out of the trouble until, but if I'm up front there somewhere when there's like 20 to go or so, then I'll mix it with anybody and I won't stand back for anybody.
We've seen that in the last few races. You've really been climbing your way up there and getting those positions. And consistency as well is always a big strong point for you. Obviously, unfortunately, out of the chase. But you must be pretty happy with the team's effort tonight, getting second place and fourth place. And, of course, Matthew Kloet getting into the chase as well.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I mean, it's really great that he's still there.
It's going to be exciting, and it's looking you're in with that chance for getting the team chase win as well. That's the big thing for you guys in 2 weeks' time. What do you feel like the chances are for you guys possibly getting that win at the end of the season?
Yeah, that's you're saying something there that I didn't know really, but I'm fairly consistent, and so is Matt. He's pretty quick, normally up front there, more or less. So if I have a good run and he has a good run, well, you never know, eh?
Well, you never know, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. Obviously, a big one for you as well at the end there was just that sort of final pit stop, and that looked like it really helped pay off and really helped get you sort of locked into that sort of top group of cars. Did it help Did you feel it helped much?
Yeah, the last pit stop I took 4 tires because, being a bit back anyway, I thought, look, if I do that, then I'm sort of set, I can go like flat out and see what I can do.
Get to enjoy the car for the end. Congratulations, Norman. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out for tonight?
Well, mainly to you guys, Performance E Streaming. You guys do really nice streaming for us, and it's really, really good. Always good to watch afterwards, and yeah, just keep it up. And then, of course, the other shout I can give out there is to our Matt Kloet, really good driving. Well done. And Josh Kettlewalden, great win there, buddy.
Thank you so much, Norman Clark. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to see you up in the booth, possibly in a couple of weeks' time. Good luck for your next race out.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Thanks a lot, bud.
Fourth place there, Norman Clark. Fantastic job for MFR there. 2 cars in the top 4. Really good job for them tonight.
Yeah, it was. They are a strong team within the ANZCAR series, so that's good to see them getting results.
It is, and we're just going to grab down just quickly, just to ask what happened in that sort of bit of a kerfuffle at the end. Edward Foster, Mr. E53, the unfortunate first guy to drop out, well, first guy in standings in that race to fall out of the chase. Edward Foster, Carl Withy here, Performance E Streaming. How are you going?
Sad.
I can imagine. Obviously, need to ask this. What happened with those pit stops?
So basically, we were keeping an eye on, we had it in the bag, really. Just cruising around, second place behind Danson. Wasn't really looking to make too much of a move on him. I was quite happy to let him have it. We were home and hosed. And a few people started coming down the pit lane. And even though those guys had been bouncing off walls all night, we still had to cover off against their fresh tyres. So we came down in the pit lane, and about 1 second before I crossed the line into the pit lane, I'd already passed the commitment cone, and the cautions come out. So I've got busted for entering a closed pit, which is dropped to the end, which is okay. Honestly, I was happy with that. I could have run from the end. I had pace on everyone apart from probably Danson, because there were so many guys out there carrying damage. So then I've driven through the pits because Riley and I had a discussion, decided that was the best thing for us to do. So we drove through the pits and came back around to pits the next time by. And when I came into the pits the next time by, it busted me for passing under yellow. I don't know why, because I've looked back at the replay. There was nobody sort of around. Maybe there was somebody further back on the track that wanted me to let by, because I had that drop to the rear because of entering the closed pit. But either way, and it gave me a 40-second hold under green. So that was 2 laps gone. And that was all she wrote, really. So that's it. It's over.
Yeah, we did see that, and thank you for explaining to us, because we sort of thought that was possibly what had happened, and yeah, I'm really sorry for that. A real shame there. I guess another big thing I just want to ask quickly, just with that commitment cone, with the race, we did see a couple of cars coming in and then sort of coming back out onto track past the commitment cone. With iRacing's rulebook, is that a penalty, or is that sort of allowed? Just a little bit confused up here.
Well, I am too. I mean, it's called a commitment cone for a reason. But, we saw iRacing software in action tonight. So, I think we probably best ask them.
Thank you so much for coming up, Edward. Commiserations. It was a real shame to see you drop out. All I can say is good luck for the next race. Hopefully you can at least finish off the season with a good position.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, pressure's off now, I suppose. We can go into the last race and try and send everything off on a high. But, of course, I've also got to be mindful of the fact that there's 4 guys out there battling for the championship now as well. So, I'm not here to, get in the way when I'm, and mess up their championship battle, because at the end of the day, that's the big story. If I can do a Josh Carroll Walden and win the race, despite all the chase action happening behind me, then I'll definitely do it. But, you've also got to drive with a little bit of consideration under that circumstance too. So.
Well, thanks for coming up, Ed, and we will catch you again at some stage. Have a good night, and we'll see you again next time.
Will do.
Edward Foster there. Unfortunately, the driver that, well, it seemed like all his bad luck came at once this race. And, as you heard, it kind of ruined his chance for the chase. A real shame there for Foster. And a real shame for the Riley Curtis team as well. They were looking good for some good positions tonight as well with Riley Curtis.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing to hear that how the iRacing rules can work against you sometimes. But
yes, it's
that's the difference, I guess, between systems and real life. There's always that risk of a system not working the way it should, or playing up a bit and making the wrong call as such.
Absolutely, and well, we see it in real life as well with some stewards decisions sometimes where you go, well, that makes no sense, and unfortunately it can happen from time to time, and it seems like it happened tonight. But other than that, fantastic win for JCW, Josh Garrawald, getting that win this season. Really good drive from him, from Matthew Kloet as well, Danny G as well, getting up into third, and of course Norman Clark in fourth place. Brilliant driving from those guys. Scurlock just keeping it nice and clean all race, getting himself into the chase. And of course Josh Michelmore as well, who just didn't need to put any pressure on himself in those last few laps. He just eased off and got through to the chase, and that's a big thing for him. So with that, we will look at closing off tonight's episode. So I have to thank Matt Hunter. Thank you so much for getting everything fixed up. Great job for getting the stream out. We again apologise about the earlier issues. And from myself, Carl Withy, and from Jono, I'm sure, Jonathan Hancock, we bid you a good night, and we will see you next time out for the final race for the chase for the ANZCAR Cup.